Okay, welcome back to the Tech Motor channel. You joined me about a month after the Spanish trip. I wanted to make a video on camera positions. One of the most difficult things about that Spanish trip was actually capturing the amazing, beautiful scenery of Spain. The position of the cameras weren't ideal. The camera on my helmet fell off because of the heat. I managed to capture bits of the bike in the camera. So I'm going to look at the positions. I'm then going to suggest an improvement, and then I'm going to make it. So that's what this video is all about. Let's get cracking. So you'll remember from the first couple of videos, we had our cameras on the bike here for our dash cams. Now, I didn't use those for actual footage. What I used for the footage was a GoPro that was attached to the front of the bike here on the spotlight. Unfortunately, this position here catches this bit of mudguard here. So you have to sort of zoom in on the image if you're going to grab it. And of course, GoPros aren't fantastic for zooming in. So what you end up with is a lower quality resolution of film. So that was the point that I used the most, I think, for camera footage. The other one was this point just here that had a 360 camera attached to it. Problem with the 360 camera when you're out sort of all day for 2 weeks is the memory just can't handle it. And the other thing is you have to edit it on the mobile phone, which is pretty rubbish. The other mount that I had was a chin mount on my helmet. And of course, you'll remember in one of the episodes, the chin mount kept melting off. The actual 3M tape that holds the chin mounts to the helmet kept peeling off because it was like 43 degrees or something like that. So while I was away, I checked out TikTok and I typed in camera positions on motorbikes, and I found this. Now,
darkness is your ally. You merely adopted the dark.
Now, I don't know who this video comes from. It seems to be posted in a variety of different places. So if you are the owner of this video, please do let me know and I'll credit you in the video. But I found it quite interesting because you can have a camera that is mounted on the bike securely, which moves with your head movement. Now that's incredibly attractive. So can I reproduce that is the question. And how do you reproduce that? Now in that video you can see he's using a digital SLR camera, and it's sort of positioned sort of around here on the bike, so it's slightly further forward, and he can move it backwards and forwards and up and down and so on. He's got a great big lens on it, which is just unrealistic, but you know, I can see why he's done it to capture, you know, the best image of the camera. But a zoom lens moving around on a camera would be useless. I could mount a digital SLR. You know, SLRs have some pretty good video functionality, but I think what I'd like to do is mount a GoPro. And the nice thing about a GoPro is that not only can I put the camera here on the bike and have it facing forwards and sideways and up and down, but I can actually spin it round to view me as well. So if I wanted to talk to the camera or I wanted a view of me, I can look at me. I can also point down at the pedals. I can do all sorts of other things. The other thing about the GoPro is it has a fantastic stability mode. So, you know, you can shake your GoPro around all you like and you still get quite a stable image. So how do I mount a GoPro in a similar way to that video so I can control it with my head movements and perhaps with a joystick on the handlebars or something like that? How do I go about that? So if we have a look back at that video, there's a few different ones online. But they're all pretty much the same thing, him sat on his black bike, sort of moving the camera around. You'll see that the camera is on a Ronin gimbal. Now that Ronin gimbal looks like an RS2, something like that. So maybe that's the answer. The other thing is, if you look on the back of his helmet, you can see a mobile phone stuck to the back of his helmet. So Ronin gimbals, it's possible to operate a Ronin gimbal with a force function which uses a mobile phone. So you can have a secondary tripod with a mobile phone on it, and when you move that mobile phone around, it moves your camera. So I think that's probably what he's done, is he's stuck the camera on a Ronin gimbal, and then he's stuck a mobile phone to the back of his helmet somehow to control it. So that's what we're going to start with. We're going to get ourselves a Ronin. We'll download the app onto the mobile phone and we'll have a little play around and see if it works. Okay, so found a Ronin gimbal. I went for the RS3 Mini. It's got a little hand hold on it with controls and other bits and pieces, but it's effectively the same gimbal that's used in the video. You can just see on the video the Ronin logo. This was about £150 online, so not hugely expensive. You can buy Ronin gimbals that are like £700, but there's no way I'm sticking one of them on a motorbike. So let's unpack this and see what it does. Okay, so here it is. It's a really nice piece of kit, quite heavy, really nice to hold onto. So imagine you can take that off the bike and use it for actual capture of footage when you're not on the bike as well. But it's got securing points around the gimbal, so you can lock it in place or unlock it so it can move around. And then it comes with one of these shoes, one of these mounts for a camera. So we're going to need to attach a GoPro to that. So you'll need this attachment for attaching a GoPro to a normal camera tripod. So I'm going to get that fitted up. The next thing you'll need is your GoPro. Now this is my GoPro. It's a GoPro 12. I've added on the GoPro 2 extra lens, so that gives you more sort of widescreen and more options. It's got a light on it, it's got a microphone, it's got various shoes for things, but the most important thing on this is that it's got recharge points, and even more importantly, it's got sound. So we're going to use this, and if you've used a GoPro 12 before, you know that this little inserts pop out the bottom, and then that will go into those various attachments. So I'm going to hook this all up and see if I can get it to work. Okay, so let's unlock all of the arms. So that lock unlocks that way. There's one just there for that way, and then there's one just there for that way. And then hopefully when we turn this on, it straightens it up. So the idea of the gimbal is that no matter how you move it, the camera stays level. So that'll add to the stability as the bike's moving around. What it does mean though is that as the bike leans over, the camera will stay straight. So I'm not quite sure what sort of effect that'll have. But that's the GoPro attached to the gimbal. So the next thing to do is to somehow attach the gimbal to the motorbike. So I'm guessing we can attach it to the bars down here. So we need some sort of clamp, and we need to extend the handle somehow. So another look on eBay, I think. Okay, so I need to extend the gimbal arm. So I found this gadget. It's a, I don't know, it says it's carbon fiber. It doesn't feel like carbon fiber, but it's basically just a pole. At one end, it has a tripod attachment that goes into a camera, and the other end, it just has the opposite. So I can attach several of these together if I need to get the height, and then I can put the gimbal on top of that. The next thing to do is to attach it to the frame. So I found these online. They're just simple grips that do up with a simple sort of lead screw on both ends, and then you can undo the bit in the middle to get your angles all right. So I'm going to try and attach that to the crash frame so that the camera will sit at the right height and in the right place. Calibrate. So it's now checking the balance of the camera. And that's it, all leveled up. that doesn't look too bad. And it's in line with the case, so if we're filtering through traffic, that doesn't stick out too much. Okay, that's good. Looks good. Okay, an interesting obstacle to overcome. The DJI Ronin app isn't available on the Android store, which is really helpful. You can get it on Apple. I can load it onto an iPad. That's not much use on a bike. But getting it onto my Samsung phone, proving a little bit more tricky. But what you can do is if you go to the DJI Ronin website, you can download the APK. Now, it's not too difficult. You just download the file. Your phone will say, are you sure you want to do this? There's a huge security alert. This is a file that I don't recognize. It's fine. Download it. Once it's downloaded, just click on it and your phone will know it's an APK and it'll install it. And then you can have the app on your Android phone. But there was a moment where I thought I'd spent hundreds of pounds on kit only to not be able to use it because I don't have an Apple phone. Anyway, once you're in, you have your app loaded up and you can just click on your gimbal and it will connect, hopefully. And then once it's connected, you can click Create, Force Mobile, and then you can adjust your smoothness and your speed and all sorts of things there. But you click that button there, and as soon as you click that button there, your phone is connected to the gimbal. So if I come over here, you can see, it's upside down at the moment, but if I move the phone, it moves the gimbal around. So that's quite cool, but obviously I don't want the camera hanging around all over the place, so I want it to be pointing in the right direction, so I've got to figure that out. Okay, so for demonstration purposes, I've hooked up my phone to a tripod. The gimbal, I found out if you double click, there's a trigger here on the front, if you double click that, it self-rights it, puts it back to 0. If you triple click it, it turns the camera around, which might be useful for something. So it goes into like a selfie mode. Double click puts it back to the front. Okay, so let's just go back into the Ronin app. We'll put force feed back on. Now you can see that nothing's happening because the phone hasn't moved. But if I move the phone forwards, you can see it moves the gimbal. Move it backwards, move it sideways. So we'll just go on a pan, like a tilt. And then we go side to side, you can see it follows the phone. So that's quite useful. Next thing is, how do I attach it to the back of a helmet? Okay, most of you that know me and have been watching my channel for a while will know I love a quad lock case. So my phone into a quad lock case. And it's got this kind of cool quad lock feature on the back there. And what I've done is I've just stuck temporarily with a 3M pad a cheap quad lock latch. Not actually quad lock, a cheaper model. But I wouldn't buy them because they're rubbish. So I will be buying some proper quad lock attachments if this works. So I'm going to attach the phone to the back of the helmet. I'm then going to put force on the gimbal, sit on the bike, and then reset the gimbal to 0, and then see if the helmet will push the camera to where I want it to go. Sounds easy, doesn't it? Okay, so if I look to the right, if I look to the left, look up, look down. Oh, it's going a bit quick, so I'll probably have to adjust the settings on that so it doesn't move so fast, because that would make people sick. But in theory, it works pretty well. But because of the speed, the camera's moving faster than my head is, so the camera's getting out of alignment. So if I move my head really quick, it's going really fast up and down, and you can see if I keep doing it, the camera now, when I'm pointing forwards, is pointing at the ceiling. So I need to play with the settings a little bit. Okay, so now I've changed the settings. So when I look left, look right, look forwards, look up, look down, tilt my head, it works perfectly well. And then if it should get out of alignment, you can just lean forwards and double click it. But it's perhaps a little bit out of range, so I might need to work out a way around that. So that's good. How do I control it from the handlebars? Let's do that next. Okay, so we're back to the phone. And you can see down here, there's a button that says recenter. So what that does is it does the double click on the gimbal for you, but I've adjusted the smoothness to 15 on each. I've adjusted the speed to 50-ish, which is about right. And then I've got this recenter button. What would be really handy is if I had that recenter button on my mobile phone, on the handlebars. So whenever it got out of tilt with my head, I could just hit recenter and it would go back to normal. I reckon you probably have to do that every 10 minutes or something, because it would get out of sync, unless you manage to move your head at exactly the same speed as the gimbal moves, which is unlikely, because when you're checking traffic behind you, you're probably going to go faster than you would if you're looking to pan the camera across. So that recenter is really useful. So we're going to have a mobile phone on the handlebars anyway for sat nav and music and all the rest of it. But there is another function which is useful. So if we come out of this mode, we can go to virtual joystick, and then you have this. So you can actually move the camera around using a joystick, and that's your tilt sideways. So you can have this on your handlebars and move it manually if you want to. The other thing you can do is you can set up various different tracks, so you can have the camera so that it'll start here and then move to this side, or move again, however you want it to work. So if you've got some sort of scenery in front of you, you can just hit that track button and the camera will automatically do a preset load. That might be useful as well. And then the other thing you can do is game controller. Got to give that a go, just to see how it works. But that's quite cool. So potentially we could take a PlayStation remote, take that apart, and build our own joystick on the handlebars next to the handlebars, so it's nice and simple. That's quite interesting. Okay, so one of the other things that I made a mistake with on the Spanish trip was I was filming with my GoPro down there somewhere on the front of the bike. Turning it on and off, I was using a GoPro remote, which was not exactly reliable, and so I was never sure whether the GoPro was recording or not. There was half a day that I recorded some really nice footage, and their fly had hit the front of the GoPro. So actually I was just filming this dead fly on the front of the GoPro. So having the view of the GoPro on your handlebars, I think would be really useful. I think having control of the gimbal on the handlebars would be really useful. And then of course, if you're on a tour or something, you really do need your sat nav and music and other bits and pieces. And so I've already got a screen here, which is my dash cam. This is my mount for my phone. This is the mount for my phone. So my phone can sit up there and I can have my sat nav and my music and other bits and pieces on there. There's not a huge amount of real estate here. So can I attach to the handlebars here with two more screens here and here? How can I attach more screens? I need two more screens effectively to do video properly. So I'm going to jump on eBay and see if I can find some cheap old phones, and then I'll have a play with some of my quad locks and see what they look like. Okay, so I've got these gadgets. They're the cheap knockoff quad locks. Again, I'm not going to use these because they're rubbish, and I'm going to probably throw them away because I don't want my phone falling off. So again, if you're going to use quad lock, use quad lock. But there is a bit of a problem, because if I attach these to the handlebars, the only place that's available for the handlebars is sort of this piece here, and the same on the other side. The problem being that if I put it on there, the phone or the screen points slightly sideways. So I can't really have it on there. Now you can buy quad lock attachments that attach to your wing mirrors, so it'll be sort of wherever you want them there. That might be an idea. And you can buy quad locks that fit on your reservoirs, your brake reservoir and your clutch reservoir. That's quite appealing, because then you can have your mobile phones here and here, and then you can still see your dashboard. So I'm going to go on eBay and order a few of those. Okay, so that's about it. The last piece to the puzzle is power. Now, I was using GoPros on the front of my bike, and every time the battery ran out, I'd have to stop and change the battery over. I thought, shall I attach an external battery supply? Shall I run it to the battery on the bike? But I was on the trip and I didn't want to really mess with the bike while I was away. However, using the gimbal does it for you. So you can attach the camera to the gimbal itself. So you can actually plug the camera in to its USB-C port, and you can plug it into the gimbal. So this bit moves with the gimbal, and then you can plug the gimbal itself into the motorbike. So your camera is constantly powered from the bike itself, so you never have to change the battery. The wires don't get in the way of the gimbal because it all goes through the arm of the gimbal, and you're powered whilst the engine's running. So that's really useful. There's a battery in the GoPro, so while the engine's running, it's charging the GoPro. So even if you should turn the engine off, the GoPro should last for, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes without the engine on. So that's it. Screens, GoPro, gimbal, power. An amazing solution. The only thing to do now is test it. So I'm going to go out the bike, and the next video will be footage from that test run. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.